the Homesteaders channel. Today I'm going to be talking about spring. It is already here and it's in full force here in Central Florida. The first step in anything to do with spring is to have a checklist. I've took it a step further and made myself a garden journal or planner. And so this has really helped me try to keep on track with my busy life. I mean, everybody's busy these days, and so I think you need to have something to keep you organized, or at least to remind you what you've done and what you need to do. If you've seen my previous videos, which I'll link some of them down in the description below, you've seen me building at least the foundation of my garden and starting seeds with soil blocking. Those are the just little steps that I've been taking in order for me to get ready for the big spring and summer gardening season. So I think one of the first things you could do to get ready for spring is do a soil test. See how your soil is doing with all the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, all those different types of things you need to grow successful flowers or vegetables. We got that done earlier on and we found out that we have pretty much nothing. If you've seen that video, we definitely are taking steps to improve soil. Very beneficial for you to get one done. I mean, it's really easy. You can just buy it online and ship it, and then you'll get your results back in a few weeks or so. Another thing you can do is really refresh the soil you have already, or buying new soil and compost. I've been doing that since always. This is new to me, this whole property. I have been just trying to grow in containers for now, and when I do amend my soil, the things that I've got like compost, just regular container soil, vermiculite, perlite, things that I actually use in my soil block mixture. So I go ahead and just mix that all together and create a nice fluffy mixture that can hold moisture and can let plants breathe so they can grow successfully. Getting that done is definitely something you can do to kind of refresh your containers, raised beds, or in-ground beds for the spring. With that, seed starting. I mean, starting seeds before your last frost date. Some of those packets of seeds might say 4 weeks before your last frost date, 8 weeks before your last frost date. Getting those seeds in and giving yourself a head start to plant those vegetables or flowers in the spring, and creating whatever type of garden you want this spring. As you see here, I'm hardening off plants, which is another thing you can do to help your seedlings. I have been hardening them off for at least a couple of weeks actually, so that's why these are in kind of direct sun for a little bit. But I have a bunch of tomatoes and peppers and things like that right now on my balcony. So I go ahead and put them out at least on the weekend and give them some sun time so they can get used to the outside. So when they are officially out, they are stronger and ready to take the weather that comes. Another thing you can do is start transplanting your plants. Either if you're buying plants or you grew them from seed, the spring is a good time if your climate allows it. As you see here, I'm planting some of my cucumbers, which are going to be going up my trellis hopefully, to go ahead and plant some of your food in the garden. Here in 9A, we are past our frost date, so it's a good time to go ahead and push a lot of those plants that have been growing inside, who have been already hardened off for at least 2 weeks, to go ahead and be planted in the garden. So planting your things that can go out already after the risk of frost is gone is another good thing to do in spring. Another thing you can do is clean up. Cleaning, organizing, and just kind of purging some of your stuff. It looks so good after I went ahead and cleaned it all up. This is something I forgot to mention when I was filming, is you can also inventory all your garden supplies. Here I'm writing down all my fertilizers that I have on hand. The garden journal that I made has a spot where I can do that. So if you go ahead and list everything that you have, expired dates, things like that, it can help you know what you need more of or what just needs to be tossed. It's just a good way to keep track of all your things. So inventorying is another good thing to do to get organized. Aside from organizing and cleaning up, cleaning your tools and things you use for the garden is also a good thing to do in the spring or before the spring. So I use a lot of soil blocking tools. As you see here, I have different types of soil blockers, and sometimes I get lazy and don't clean them right away. That's just reality. So I just take it in the front porch and hose it down all the way through and give it a good clean and just leave it out in the porch to dry. Aside from cleaning your tools, get new tools if you need it. Get new things that you want to try, or get things that have broken or just need to be replaced. Getting things that you need in the garden is not a waste. It's going to be an investment in the long run. Just make sure that you get things that you actually need. This doesn't pertain to me right now, but it might to you. Cover cropping. Planting cover crops in spring is a great way to amend your soil in a way where you can grow crops like peas to feed nitrogen back into the soil, things like that. You can definitely find plenty of plants to help you make your soil better by just planting them, letting it grow, and then planting something else after. Fertilizing. Fertilizing your plants is great to do in the spring. I use fish emulsion, which you can just follow the directions on your bottle. In my bottle it says 3 tablespoons per gallon. Some people just say 1 tablespoon per gallon, and I went ahead and I did that and fertilized all my seedlings and all the plants that I have already in the garden. For these plants, I haven't done them in a while, so I'm glad I have now my planner where I can finally know the date I did it, so then I can kind of keep track that way. So fertilizing your plants and seedlings is definitely a thing to do for the spring. You can also inspect your beds, your containers, see what's living in there or not living in there. Sometimes I have to go through my gardening stalks, and sometimes I see little wasp nests in between. I have to just take them out, clean up things. If you have raised beds, you can do the same. Just kind of look over everything, see what you need to be cleaned up. Another thing I do is just care for my seedlings or plants more. Knowing that it's the beginning of spring, it's important to start off at a good starting point, so then you can get used to a rhythm in doing those things. Like I'm starting to put cinnamon on top of my seedlings just to avoid fungus, or try to see if it works. I'll have a lot of gnats and flies that go around there, so I use sticky paper that I need more of, and I need to get things like that in order for me to keep growing indoors. A lot of people say that it does help the fungus issues and just gnats and things like that, so I've been doing that as well to take care of my seedlings. I'm also going to be helping my seedlings and protecting them with a neem oil spray that I learned from the Rustic Garden. So he puts about I think 1 to 2 tablespoons of neem oil and at least a teaspoon or so of Castile soap, like a pure soap, and then a gallon of water. And so I'm going to use that to spray some of my leaves because I see that they are being eaten by bugs, and I need to see if I can try to avoid some of that. And so doing that is also a way to protect your plants or seedlings for the spring, and then continue throughout the gardening season. Build plant supports. Build things that you need in the garden, like trellises. I did my first big trellis out of hog panel. I'll do a video on exactly how I did it, but here's a little clip of me and my daughter building these trellises for cucumbers and squash and things like that. And so I built those. I'm gonna still need to build a lot more support for some of these vegetables and things I'm going to be growing in my garden because I want to grow vertically. Go ahead and try to find cheap ways to make trellises and support for your plants in the spring. I don't need to do this right now, but some of you do need to prune. If you have to prune I don't know, grapevines or flowers or any type of plants that you have that need to be pruned, go ahead and do that for spring, starting spring. Pruning definitely helps plants become stronger and produce more. Mulching your plants and trees, as you see here, I'm mulching all my plants that I recently planted in my garden, mulching my blueberry bushes, mulching my trees. Here you see me mulching trees. I have only 2 trees, or yeah, 3 trees actually. So mulching my trees, mulching my grapes. I actually have 2 more grapes I got to put out, but here I'm mulching my grapes. Also mulching my flowers, my roses, my David Austin roses. I'm mulching them. I follow my little David Austin book and it says to mulch at this time, so I'm definitely taking advantage of that and mulching my roses. They're so beautiful now. They are starting to bloom little by little. Mulching just helps all your vegetables and flowers keep the moisture. When you water your plants or when it rains, it just helps the plants absorb and keep that water. Especially here in Florida, it is so hot. I mean, it's mid-March, almost the end of March, and it's 70, 80 degrees. And so it's super important, especially in my area, in my zone 9A, to mulch all things, just because we just want to keep the moisture and protect our plants. And hopefully this helps you getting started to get organized and get some things done for the spring so you can have the harvest that you want, or at least try. I mean, even if I completely kill everything, at least it's going to be a learning process for me. I know everything's not perfect. I mean, even looking at my sunflowers that I just transplanted, I see that the leaves are black, and you know, me trying to figure out what to do to help them is just kind of a learning process. I mean, with spring already here and then it feeling like summer, I know that there's so much to learn in the garden, and it's just enjoying the ride. And being organized and having a checklist definitely helps bring some of that pressure or stress off of me. This week I was watching a interview with Erin Benzakein, the owner of Floret, and you know, she has a really big worldwide seed company for flowers. And she said definitely her business was a decade in the making, and that in the beginning she really sucked. And her advice to people is getting used to sucking and not giving up. I think that really resonated with me, because as I kill plants and as I see diseases and kind of get down on myself on if I can do this, I just have to remind myself that to not give up. And I can suck in the beginning, and that's okay, as long as I learn and keep moving forward. I definitely want to share that with you guys. If you're feeling like you're failing in anything, just don't give up. Keep moving forward, keep going. It's okay to suck sometimes, but as long as you're loving what you're doing and not give up, I think you'll be okay. If you have any more great tips or checklists of things to do in the spring, please go ahead and comment down below for everyone else. I hope everyone just keeps growing, or at least try to. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay well, friends.